Hey, guys, this is a great book. I'm going to read the first chapter for our KFC YouTube channel, our cool first chapters book. This is written by Jonathan Auxier. He also wrote Sweet. I think he is kind of a mystical, mystery, spooky type writer because this kind of looks like a little bit spookier than Sweet, where Sweet's more of a historical fiction book, but this looks kind of like spooky. I mean, the title alone, Night Gardener. Oh, yeah, I'm hooked, and I love the cover so far. And I was looking at some of the first pages. I mean, look at that. It's like spooky tree. We got the Halloween spooky thing going on here. Look at that. The wind blowing in the leaves. And then, oh, look, there is the night gardener. He just looks spooky. So I'm wondering if this is just going to be a really good spooky type book. So it's part one is called Arrivals and Storyteller at the Crossroads. The calendar said early March, but the smell of the air said late October. Okay, October, my favorite month. I'm already hooked. A crisp sun shone over Cellar Hollow, melting the final bits of ice from the bare trees. Steam rose from the soil like a phantom, carrying with it a whisper of autumn smoke that had been lying dormant in the frosty underground. Squinting through the trees, you could just make out the winding path that ran from the village all the way to the woods in the south. People seldom traveled in that direction, but on this March morning that felt like October, a horse and a cart rattled down the road. It was a fish cart with a broken back wheel and no fish. Riding atop the bench were two children, a girl and a boy, both with striking red hair. The girl's name was Molly, and the boy, her brother, was Kip. And they were riding to their deaths. This, at least, was what Molly had been told by no fewer than a dozen people as they traveled from farm to farm in search of Windsor Estate. Every person that they spoke to, muttered something ominous about sour woods and then refused to tell them any more. The Windsors, said one lanky shepherd, whom Molly had stopped in the road. I'd just as soon leave my flock to the lion's den. He propped himself against the crook, eyeing Molly from heel to head, the way men do sometimes. Be that as it may, Molly said in her most polite voice, it's where we need to be. The Windsors are expecting us, and they were expecting us last week. Then they can wait just a little longer. The man summoned up some phlegm from his throat and spat it on the ground. My advice, go back to wherever country you came from. The Sour Woods is no place for anyone. He shuffled across the road and into the trees, a trail of bleating sheep behind him. Molly sighed. That was the third shepherd that hour. What do you think they all mean by sour woods? Kip asked when the flock had passed and they were moving again. Molly didn't know, and so she made something up. You don't know about the sour woods? She said, pretending to be astonished. Why, it's a whole forest of nothing but lemon trees and lemon blossoms and lemon moss and lemon weeds. They say that when summer comes and the fruit is ripe, just breathing the air will make your whole face pucker up. She said things like that to let her brother know she wasn't worried. But she was worried. She and Kip had been riding almost nonstop for 4 days through the rain and cold, led by a horse that barely tolerated them, due in part to the fact that Molly did not know the creature's name. And she told her brother it was Galileo, but the horse seemed to disagree. She had somehow imagined that English roads would be broad and level, but these roads were even worse than the ones back home. The mud was black and greedy, holding on to whatever touched it, including their back wheel, which had lost 3 spokes only the day before. What little food there had been in the back of the cart had long since been eaten, and now only a rancid, fishy odor remained. Are you cold? She said, noticing her brother shiver under his coat. He shook his head, which she could see now that was damp. I'm hot. Molly's heart fell. Kip had been sick for weeks and showed little sign of getting better. He needed clean clothes, he needed a bed and a bath and a proper meal, and he needed a home. Kip stifled a cough against his sleeve. Maybe all those folks is right, he said. Maybe we should just turn back to town or go back home. Molly couldn't allow herself to wish for that. She and Kip were an ocean away from the place they called home. She put a hand on her forehead, which was warm. To hear you talk, a person's thinking, Ma, they raised a pair of quitters. We'll find the place soon enough, directions or not, and there'll be hot food and a warm bed, and there'll be honest work. They rode on, growing ever more lost. Mid-afternoon, when they came across someone unexpected. I wonder if it's the night gardener. So they're in the creepy woods. They're lost. The brother is sick, and everybody's telling them, don't go in these woods. Go back, go back. And then they came across somebody very unexpected. If you'd like to know more about this story and see who they came across, I'm thinking it's the night gardener. Check it out. It's in the fiction section under AUX, which is the first 3 letters of the author's last name, Jonathan Auxier. Come on down, check it out. It's a great book.